What's this? A Spawn comic review on this channel? Yeah, I should explain myself. You see, Spawn and I have a very interesting relationship. Spawn, while a lot of people I know on this channel really love Spawn, and I've talked about Spawn in the past, not as much as like Geekvolution Spawn Year, but I've never really talked about the comics. Why? Because going back to the original comics, I made this declaration that, like, it looks cool, but the stories are so boring. It's really, like, a lot of it is really, like, Todd McFarlane trying his best to wax poetically or try his best to be Brian Michael Bendis, and it fails miserably. Now, don't get me wrong. Spawn's, look, like, I've always understood that Todd McFarlane has been, like, merchandise and picture over story. And I get that. Like, you gotta make that money somehow. I can't blame him for that. But, like, I never cared much for Spawn. But recently, a lot of people have been saying, like, this new Spawn universe this Spawniverse, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, has been really good. One of my friends, Matt Denyon, the author of Atomic Rex, talked about how much he's been really loving the new Spawn comics. And he's also of the mindset of, yeah, Spawn is really just is kind of like, it just looks cool and that's it. So when he said, no, you gotta read the new Spawn, I was like, alright, at my local comic shop, there's some Spawn comics. So I was like, sure. Okay, sure. Yeah. Should be fun. And I picked two of them right out the gate. One that is part of the Spawn universe, and this one that kind of builds into it. I think I'm gonna get more. I'm not gonna like go back and collect all the different volumes of the Spawn Origins ones, because those are the comics I've read in the past and was like, man, this is really like just cool pictures, but nothing's going on. So, yeah. And I think Spawn is written best when he's not written by McFarlane. When he's drawn by McFarlane, yes, but when he's written by McFarlane, I'm like, man, this is just kind of there. And to his credit, at least here, there's stuff going on. Like, this whole story arc has stuff going on. So let's talk about Spawn, the Satan Wars saga. Yeah. This comic is pretty good. We have Todd McFarlane on writing and some of the artwork in the first two issues, but then we get Eric Larson on the comic too. And Eric Larson is an artist that I am both really love and hate, because sometimes he's really good, and other times it's really clear he's phoning it in or he got rushed. He's one of those. It's like John Romita Jr., where you're either going to get really good Romita or you're going to get rushed and doesn't give a fuck Romita Jr. It's kind of the same thing with Larson and a few other artists, but those are the two that I really look to when you're like, they can either be really good or it's really going to look shitty. Thankfully, this is the Eric Larson who came to play today, because there is some just beautiful artwork in here. I'm going to see one, because this is Image Comics, and you know they don't have a Comics Code Authority. There's some gory stuff in here. So, yeah, let me... Here. Ta-da! That's good Eric Larson right there. That's some good Eric Larson right there. I really like this book. For what it is, and it is Todd McFarlane written, it's actually pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. This was sitting in the comic shop for, years. That's the thing, when a comic is just kind of sitting on the thing at my comic shop, the trades just kind of sit there for a while, and it's almost like, buy me, buy me, buy me. I'm like, okay, I'll buy you. So, this one, was sitting there, and I was like, you know what, fine, you'll come home with me, and maybe I'll get if I like the others, I will get the other Spawn comics, too. So, yeah. So, let's talk about the actual story. We're 4 minutes into let's actually talk about the review. So the review is that a little bit of uptake is that Wanda has been killed and her soul is in hell, and Satan is basically trying to get Spawn to relinquish his suit to him, and in exchange he'll give him Wanda. But of course Al Simmons never thinks logically, because when is he ever, and decides to go down to hell personally to put a boot up Satan's ass. And, yeah, I will say, this is actually pretty good. This is a pretty fun comic. I don't know if like Eric Larson like suddenly pushed McFarlane out of the way to write like half the story, because when we get to Hell, it's just action, 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 and some not bad writing. Or it was McFarlane and Larson was just kind of standing over like, do this. I don't know, but like it actually got really impressive. Keith David, like I can just hear his voice whenever I read a Spawn comic. It's like when you hear Kevin Conroy voicing Batman, I can hear Keith David voicing Spawn. So yeah, it was actually true to it. One thing though, and this has been a thing that's been going on with a lot of recent Spawn comics, is that I really don't like Spawn with a mouth. I really just don't. I like it better when it's just a faceless look, because I think that's a little more creepier, like that faceless, like just the green eyes that are so expressionate. When he has a mouth, yeah, it's just Venom with a cape. And I get it. That was a lot of the, like, obviously because Todd McFarlane helped create Venom, but yeah. I'm surprised actually Donny Cates has not written a Spawn comic yet. He does work at Image, he does have comics. In fact, I just recently reviewed one of his Image books, Redneck, so I'm surprised he hasn't gotten in on the Spawn Universe comics yet, because it's very clear in his Venom comic that he clearly read Spawn in his life. This is pretty fun, this is pretty straightforward. This is Spawn just wanting to get Wanda's soul back and fighting his way through hell. There's actually a really good issue. It's just straight up no dialogue, except for one line. There's only one line of dialogue, and it's just Al slaughtering his way through hordes of demons. And it literally, like, you could just put on like a track from the Doom soundtrack by Mick Gordon, and it would fit so well. So, like, I'm convinced, like, he probably did play Doom. McFarlane or Larson played Doom to play this, so yeah. All in all, this is a pretty decent jumping on point. You do have a certain clown in here. He does, and they do mention Jim Downing. I recommend this. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I actually, after reading Satan Wars, I actually want to read Spawn comics again. Like, it's kind of cool. And I'm actually excited to read King Spawn, which is the new series for the Spawnverse, with Al Simmons being the new lord and master of, well, everything. Yeah. This is actually pretty cheap, too. It's only $15. It's actually inexpensive. I got this and King Spawn, and I actually want to go back now and go pick up more Spawn comics. Or should I say recent Spawn comics? Because the previous ones, I'm like, you're still just pictures over story. I don't mean to offend any major Spawn fans, but that's just personally how I feel. If you think different, that's totally fine. But yeah, this made me want to read Spawn again. I'm actually excited to read King Spawn. Probably because it wasn't written by McFarlane. So, yeah, maybe that's why. Like I said, Spawn's best when he's not written by McFarlane. And I don't mean that as an offense. It's just, man, McFarlane's better as an artist than he is a writer. And also as a businessman. I can't fault the man for being a businessman. Because in this day and age, make your paper. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, Satan Wars Saga. Go check it out if you have not been reading Spawn. This is a nice place to start, along with the other stuff, which I'll probably, assuming this review does well, I will review not only King Spawn, but I will review other Spawn comics I pick up. And also, please recommend in the comments below if you're reading the new Spawn comics. Please comment below. Recommend to me what Spawn comics I should pick up in trade, mind you. In trade, I prefer I'm a trade reading man by choice. So yeah. Yeah, I know Gunslinger Spawn is the one everyone talks about, and that one I'm gonna get when it comes, because it's not till August, I believe, that comes out in trade. So I'll wait. Anyway. So yeah, you guys comment below. What did you guys think of, if you've read Spawn, the Satan Wars Saga, what did you guys think of it? And hope you all enjoyed this review. If you haven't already, hit the link below, head on to my Patreon for exclusive videos and polls. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.